Welcome to JoJo Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. I've actually been surprised to hear some people skip this story arc. I can understand why, because it isn't something threatening the Earth or an ancient evil wanting revenge. But this is a good JoJo story. It helps readers understand more about the stands, and if it wasn't for Part 4, Part 5 wouldn't have been good as it is, due to knowing more about stands, and the stand arrow. Now let me tell you the story of Morio. Now in the year 1999, a young boy named Josuke Higashigata lives peacefully with his mum, until Jotaro comes to him and reveals who his father is. His father is Joseph Joestar and needs to sort out his will and wants to help Josuke. This is the beginning of adventure for Josuke, when now stand users are popping up everywhere in town, motivated by their own greed, emotions, and sometimes evil. Josuke groups together his friends to keep the town safe, but when they learn the town's darkest secret of a serial killer who's been killing women his whole life in Morio, Josuke is now against time to find the killer, whose identity is unknown, find the mysterious arrow giving people stands, and most of all, bring peace to his town. As I said, this story will help us understand more about stands, because we see a much more wide variety of stands. There are also many fun stands in this story, from an electrical tower to a cat plant. Yes, that did sound weird, but hey, this is JoJo. Okay, time for stand 102, where we talk about the stand arrow. It's revealed that Enya from Part 3 actually had the arrow and used it on Dio, which caused the chain reaction of Joestars getting their stands, and Dio gathering his army of stand users. Which actually means some of the stand users we met in Part 3 were not born with the ability of a stand, but gained it through the arrow. But like what we saw with Holly, not all are meant to have stands, and being shot with the arrow will actually cause death. But it seems the arrow actually mostly goes towards people that have the potential to gain a stand. Not much else to say about the arrow, but this story does show what different forms stands can take, like Koichi's echoes having 3 different forms, and stands like Harvest and Bad Company having multiple bodies. This story is chock-a-block full of characters, so I'll just talk about the most recurring characters, and of course the baddie. Of course we'll talk about the main JoJo of this story, Josuke Higashigata, a freshman in his town of Morio. Josuke is the illegitimate son of Joseph Joestar. He's a caring, popular, and slightly naive teenager, who's inspired by his police officer grandfather's sense of justice. When his half-nephew Jotaro enters his life, he has now to stop all the stand users popping up around town. I think Josuke brings back the classic JoJo personality to help people and be positive. Crazy Diamond, a stand similar to the World in appearance and attacks. Its ability is to restore, meaning it can repair broken objects to the original form, or even what he thinks the form was. This power works for healing as well, and he uses it on his friends throughout the series, but the biggest drawback is he cannot heal himself. I think it's been one of the most useful stands of all, because he uses such a variety of ways, make it an awesome stand to have. Koichi is an ally and classmate who meets Josuke when Jotaro is searching for him, resulting in the two becoming quick friends and getting a stand while being shot by the stand arrow. He's a cool character to follow his growth. He goes through a lot during the story, from his family in danger, hostage by a crazy girl, and then getting the crazy girl. It does add a good sideline to the story, so you don't always have to follow Josuke, because danger can strike any time in Morio, and he becomes one of the key people to help everyone, and a great ally for Josuke. Echoes is one of the only stands throughout of JoJo that actually evolves during the story. It gets up to 3 different forms, which can be activated at any time. Echoes Act 1, 2, and 3. Echoes Act 1 and 2 can replicate sound effects and attach them to objects and activate them on contact. Echoes 3 loses the former abilities and gains the ability to freeze, which causes a target to become heavy. Act 3 also has an odd ability to communicate with his user. Okiyatsu is overly dependent on his older brother, Kicho, to make hard decisions, but after his brother died, he sought revenge against the user Red Hot Chili Pepper. During this time and the following events surrounding Kira Yoshikage, he becomes fast friends with Josuke and Koichi. At first it seems like Josuke, who both have delinquent hairstyles. Both have big hearts who will befriend anyone they come across and help anyone in trouble. Okiyatsu is a good friend to have around when you're in trouble, because he will always back you up. The hand in some ways is rather simple. It's an extremely strong stand with the ability to erase anything with its right hand. He can even erase space temporarily, where his hand moves, seemingly able to warp or teleport objects closer to himself. Now just a few quick mentions. Kishibe Rohan, a famous comic book artist who recently moved to Morio. He has the philosophy that you must experience life in order to be inspired. Also, people say this is Hirohiko Araki's way of writing himself into the story. Also, I should point out that Rohan has made appearances outside of the JoJo books in other works of Hirohiko, such as Under Execution Until Jailbreak, and in Matsuke Bezaka. His stand is Heaven's Gate, which allows him to read the memories of its targets by opening them up as books and able to write his own words in their story, such as, "Don't attack Rohan," so they can't attack him. JoJo does pop in time to time, but mostly when there's a deadly stand comes around. As somewhere along the line, he became an oceologist and studies narwhals. I don't know when he decided to do that with his life, but also Joseph comes to visit Josuke. He's a very old man now, but he does still get into some hilarious antics with his son. Yoshikage Kira, the main antagonist of the story. He longs for a simple life and doesn't wish to be bothered. Kira is a criminal who's been murdering women and getting away with it for 15 years. He becomes quite bothered when someone disrupts his simplicity and goes to extreme lengths to get it back. I have to say it's hard to top Dio, but I think Kira comes close. Recently I actually realised you can compare Kira to Dexter Morgan. He wants a simple life, he has an uncontrollable urge to kill, leaves no trace of evidence, and he looks to his dad for help. I think Kira is a really cool villain who stays one step ahead of the heroes and won't stop killing. Killer Queen is a stand that can turn objects and people into bombs, leaving no trace behind, and is how he leaves no evidence of his kills. Killer Queen has a remote-controlled bomb in its hand, and will attack enemies, and can't even be broken by Star Platinum's punches. And even eventually, Killer Queen uses the stand arrow to grow more stronger, so Kira can keep living his quiet, peaceful life. I really think this is a good JoJo story, just because it puts the JoJo elements in a different setting and helps set up for the next JoJo stories. It explains a lot more about stands, opens up possibilities for more people to develop stands, and introduces the stand arrow, which plays a big role in part 5. And I just like the idea of JoJo in a high school with this epidemic of people becoming stand users. But also I like Josuke being an upbeat school kid who wants to help people and protect his town. From that I know he carries the Joestar bloodline. The only negative thing I would say is that the story is a little zigzag at times. And I really don't think Joseph would cheat on his wife ever. Well, that's part 4, but it's not over yet. Next time we go to Italy where we meet Giorno Giovanni, the boy who shares a link with Dio, dive into the world of the gangsters, and follow their journey to overthrow the head gangster and become a gangstar. Next time, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, Golden Wind.